CUSMA is up for review this year, but with the latest American action in Venezuela, the impact on the global oil markets could shift the Canadian position. So here to talk about that ahead of the CUSMA review is Drew Fagan, professor at the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at the University of Toronto. Professor, good to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Lindsay.
So given what's happening, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, oil is probably going to be a bit of a negotiating tool for Canada in this review that's coming up. How does what's happened in Venezuela and what happened today in New York change things for Canada in the review?
Well, the CUSMA review, we've really been in a negotiation with the United States and the Trump administration, as you know, since the spring when he imposed tariffs, limited in our case, on Canadian exports to the United States. You know, oil in particular has been a fundamental aspect of the bilateral relationship. It was really oil that was what the United States wanted in the bilateral free trade agreement in 1989. We guaranteed them access to Canadian oil after the nationalistic policies of the early 1980s. That's still fundamental, along with rare earth minerals and others that we have access to. But the geopolitical market in oil, after what happened on the weekend, is so unclear, geopolitics impacting markets and the economy so much more than it did 20, 25 years ago, that it's hard to foresee. The talks between Canada and the United States have been in abeyance for some months. They will come back to the fore by the spring. The deadline to really get started on the review is July, but they're already talking, and we'll see where it goes. But to your fundamental question, yeah, oil is a big part of this.
Oil, a big part of it. As you say, critical minerals, another big part of it. And what we've been watching over the last year or so is the U.S. government sometimes, or U.S. companies taking out stakes in Canadian mining companies. So it seems as though there is some interest there when it comes to critical minerals. Is there any other big players, I guess, like you could say, that Canada could use in these negotiations? I take your point that they've been happening for a while, but when they officially start later this year.
Yeah, so you have to look at this in terms of both the politics and the economics. The economics of the bilateral relationship is pretty fundamental. And it's pretty clear that both countries benefit from a deeper relationship. You know, no country has a strategic interest in another country like Canada does in the United States. Obviously, the size of that market, but it matters to the United States too, particularly with regard to resources. So that's going to come to the fore, and we're going to see, you know, where the administration is on all of this. Nobody really at this stage expects an early deal. On the other hand, if you think about everything that the Trump administration is doing globally, especially after last weekend, do they really want to pick a fight with Canada? The Carney government was very careful on the weekend in how it responded. You know, we probably should be happy that we're not on the Security Council right now and having to choose a path like Britain always has to as a permanent member. So Mark Carney is trying to act very carefully in the circumstance and not get pulled into the huge debate that's going on globally and the accusations towards the Trump administration about their actions on the weekend.
I mean, that's a perfect segue into what I was going to ask you, right, is how difficult it's going to be for Canada to kind of toe the line over the next couple of months, particularly when you're dealing with a president with such thin skin, right? Like something that Mark Carney says or something that Canada says that's against U.S. actions might go against them in these negotiations. Like, how difficult is that going to be to kind of walk this line?
It's virtually impossible because it's very difficult to strategize in a circumstance where the other government, first of all the actions they're taking globally, the United States is always thinking globally. We've managed over time to manage the bilateral relationship pretty well, but not with a president like this, who, you know, sort of shoots from the cuff and acts the way he does. So that's probably going to continue. Now, by the spring, by the summer, I think the administration, particularly the president himself, will be thinking more seriously about his polling numbers, which right now are very weak. And if he hasn't seen a recovery in that, it's possible that he'll sue for peace on a bunch of the files that he's been fighting, including this one. It's possible, but it's unfortunate, and it's the nature of Canada, that so much of our future, so much of our interest is decided by what are really domestic U.S. interests, including politics and to some extent the private sector and corporations themselves, almost all of which have been supportive of CUSMA. And while being careful about what they say in the consultations with Congress, underlining the fact that the actions taken over the last year were not in U.S. economic interest.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. As you say, that approval rating for Donald Trump is, I think, at 30% now, so it's going lower. There was talk from Donald Trump a couple of months ago about doing away with the free trade agreement altogether. Is that just talk, do you think? Do you think that's still a possibility coming out of these negotiations?
Anything is possible in this circumstance. Like NAFTA, CUSMA, there's a 6-month abrogation clause. This is not a treaty of Congress. It's a bilateral agreement. And he has threatened that. His officials, including his senior trade official, have talked about 2 bilateral agreements, or mused, you might say. One Canada-US, one U.S.-Mexico, which is precisely what we didn't want, some decades ago, and why we pushed hard to be part of NAFTA. We had an underlying free trade agreement, after all, at the time. So a lot is on the table, possible, but I don't think we can count out the possibility that there is less here than we fear. For one thing, I think they'd like to keep this out of controversy in the Congress, in which case it might be more of a technical review, which is certainly what the Canadian side is pushing for. And of course, we have a new ambassador in Washington coming in about a month. He'll be sort of feeling his way through this. But it's as challenging a situation in terms of bilateral relations as we've seen in a century.
So much to watch for. We'll have to leave it there. We're out of time, Professor. I appreciate you taking the time, though. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Lindsay.
That was Drew Fagan, professor at the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy. Up next,